Hello there. So, we have online summer camp this year. This is the quick video about the syllabus. So things are going to be a little bit different, and just want to take a couple minutes to explain how those things are going to be different for summer camp versus other classes so far. So, summer camp is pretty much a chance to get out and get up close and personal with a whole bunch of field sites and practice a whole bunch of skills. So we're going to do those two things again, but through videos, through tools like GIS and Google Earth, and then also practice a bunch of the field skills, but practice them kind of on our own, and sometimes on a computer, sometimes out in the field by your house, or wherever you're sheltering in place right now. It's going to be kind of different, but we'll get you through, and a lot of you are taking this class because you need it to graduate like now, right now, so we'll make sure that that is going to happen. So the important thing for us for this class is basically to keep up. This is pretty easy to do in the offline version of this class, kind of the regular version most years, because summer camp normally meets 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or kind of 24/7 depending on which phase of the class we're in. And you know, there's no falling behind, because that means like you're falling behind the group in the wilderness on the trail and you're like gone. So here where maybe you have a summer job already and that sort of thing, it could be a little bit easier to kind of put things aside for a day or two and just kind of get behind. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen this year on summer camp. So as each day comes out, make sure to carve out some kind of time that day. We're doing everything we can to make as much of the class asynchronous as possible, meaning you don't have to be online in a Zoom meeting with us all day long, you know, listening to us interview a forestry practitioner, or learning about a particular like national forest or national park, something like that. But we don't have those kind of abilities since some folks have to have summer jobs this time around. So make sure to, whatever that time looks like for you each day, whether it's first thing in the morning or kind of middle of the day or in the evening, set aside that time for summer camp this year for 4 weeks, and just make sure that it happens each day. That will not include weekends, so if you need to catch up on something, that's okay, and so forth. But what we're going to do is we're going to stagger the kind of the due date on each assignment for summer camp a couple of days after it's assigned, so that we don't get into that situation where there's a whole bunch of you know, like a whole like huge flurry of activity like 3 days before the end of summer camp, and you just like literally don't have enough time to do everything because it's all been sort of put off. That's a bit of feedback that we've gotten from students who've been doing online classes this past spring semester, where taking an online class kind of makes it possible to put stuff off until the end, until it's kind of too late. So to help structure the class, to help kind of pace us all, we'll make sure that everything is going to do typically a couple of days after it's assigned, instead of all right at the end. So that is one important difference from regular summer camp. Normally, everybody's kind of doing everything, but we're checking in with them constantly all day long, and everybody's kind of on pace and together. But with online summer camp, since we can't do that, we'll have stuff staggered out as we go. Okay, so that's kind of the timing and structure. So expect kind of a 48 to 72 hour time period to do everything. We understand that some of these exercises are going to be outdoors and weather dependent. That's a field class. So if the weather is bad, please do not go outside in a lightning storm and try to use a standoff pole to do surveying or something like that. We'll figure it out. Okay? Okay. Thank you. So going through the rest of the syllabus now is pretty much basically standard copy-paste stuff from each year. So if you are pressed for time, you can probably kind of fast forward this next part or put me on double speed on YouTube. My contact information, I've got my cell phone number, my other cell phone number, my office number. Don't use my office number, I'm not in the office. And as you can see by my super fancy YouTube backdrop of a sheet, yeah, there it is. So 618-303-2799 is my direct cell phone line. That'll go straight to me. I will see it probably right away. I may not be able to reply right away if I'm like leading a class online at that moment, but I will get back to you. So sit tight and we'll get your questions answered as they come up. We'll have online like class discussions in D2L, so typically I'll link to those in the course announcements, like the front page of the website. So you can go directly to those, but you can also go through the menus at the top for primarily content and then assignments and discussions. Okay, so the purpose of this class is to usually as a rising junior or senior, but this year it's going to be mostly people who are seniors who are taking it to graduate right away. The purpose of summer camp for us is to take the 3 or sometimes 4 years worth of forestry classes you've gotten, mostly junior and senior level classes, and have the opportunities to take a lot of those principles that we've talked a lot about in classrooms out into the field and kind of connect the dots between, okay, so this is the concept, this is the forest ecology principle, or the human dimensions issue, or the forest hydrology sort of management task or something like that. Let's go out and, stand in the ecosystem in the interesting or beautiful place and try that activity on for size. We may not become experts at it, but at least you can say that you've tried it. Put your hands on the tools, felt the wind and the sun, maybe the rain on your face, and had a chance to sort of have the context of how this actually works and looks and feels in the real world versus kind of thinking about it in a classroom. Okay, so we'll do exactly that, but we'll all be kind of separated and safely socially distanced from each other this year while we do it. So we're going to learn the art and science of providing high-quality forestry professional services, rec, wildlife, habitat management, urban forestry, wildland fire, forest watershed management, etc., forest resources. This year we have a large proportion of folks who are in the wildlife habitat management concentration. So what I'm going to do as the instructor for the weeks 2, 3, and 4 of the class is try to emphasize the wildlife habitat management and the zoology piece of forestry as much as I can. So a lot of our examples across different national parks and so forth where I've done my research, they are all dealing with wildlife management. So we'll put particular emphasis on those videos, as well as the straightforward sort of rec management piece of that. And we'll see that a lot of these different specializations really dovetail a lot more in practice than maybe they do conceptually or talking in the classroom. Like, you cannot manage forest wildlife habitats without managing watersheds in a healthy way, for example, right? That's a very sort of basic and abstract version, but that's the essential idea. We want to see how this stuff all sort of dovetails together. And my goodness, it sure will. So for assignments or exercises or learning examples in different places where we have a lot of content but not necessarily an exercise associated with it, like for example with the typically at the beginning of a particular content area or day's worth of discussion, we'll have kind of an orientation to a particular national park or forest. Those will be our 2 primary places that we kind of wrestle with during the semester. Where there's not an assignment for it, I want you to get in the habit of keeping kind of your field notebook or your journal. So interesting facts that surprised you about that national park and so forth. And what we'll do at the end of the semester, our intersession or 4 weeks of summer camp, is you will have already turned in a whole bunch of different kind of exercises. So today's exercise, for example, day 1, is stream gauging, and that is measuring the contour, the shape, the cross section of a stream, and the measuring the flow rate of the water through the stream at different points so that you get a sense of the flux or the throughput or how much water is flowing through that cross section, that space or that slice across the stream bed. So there's an activity associated with that. You do the activity, turn that in online to the course Dropbox. But also for kind of the more general sort of site orientation bit of it, always in summer camp, we have our field notebooks with us, right? So this is most years Write in the Rain paper, and it is just capturing all sorts of stuff like, wow, the bathrooms at such and such a place were completely overloaded. That's a forestry management issue. Or wow, it was an incredibly long sort of isolated drive to get out to the visitor center at Canyonlands National Park. I wonder if that has anything to do with the ecology of how they manage the mountain goats and the black bears that have showed up in that area. Absolutely, right? So road management in national forests and parks is a huge issue. The U.S. Forest Service actually manages, other than the U.S. Federal Highway Administration, the most miles of road in the United States in the form of forest roads and skid trails. So you want to capture stuff like that about each place that we talk about, okay? And that field notebook, that journal, basically, is going to be turned in all at once at the end of the semester, okay? So I'll try to prompt everybody to do that with each day and each activity, but typically for each thing that you're turning in 2 things. The exercise relevant to that day's discussion, kind of right then or within the next 48 to 72 hours. And then at the end of the semester, the other half of what you're turning in includes that day and all the other days put together in the form of that field notebook, okay? If you have any questions about this, post it up in the discussion forums that we'll open up for you today. And we'll make sure everybody's on the same page so that this doesn't catch you by surprise. If you didn't make it this far in the syllabus video, or you just get kind of busy with work and class and you just kind of play and forget. So we'll try and keep everybody on the same page. No pun intended. Anyway, so our learning objectives for this class are to take a closer look about the lands, people, and professional practices of the U.S. National Park Service, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Reclamation was one that is not usually on our radars. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is another one, typically not on our radars, but employs a huge, huge number of foresters, actually all around the world, to serve the United States interest. And we'll talk about some other American federal and state and local and private and not-for-profit land management organizations. Excuse me. These are the kinds of folks that you want to think about applying to, and some of you, many of you, have already applied to them, and some are already getting jobs and internships and stuff like that. Hopefully jobs over internships lined up for even this summer. So we're pretty excited about that. But we want to make sure that all of you, before we lose contact with you and you graduate and all that stuff and you go on to do great things, that you have a very long list of places where you have a bunch of opportunities to start your career, okay? We want to make sure that you're well taken care of in that way by this class specifically. So we also want to make sure that you see forest rec, watershed, habitat management, even urban forestry, and so forth, techniques practiced through this class. So urban forestry, even like urban landscaping, stuff like that, that's a pretty big deal at national parks. And we'll talk about how and why that is a safety issue and a wildfire management issue and so on and so forth. And we'll see a bunch of different examples of that. Sometimes they're pretty subtle. Sometimes it's like the focus of the day. So hopefully that's a very useful set of exercises. And admittedly, it's going to be a bunch of YouTube videos about places where we wish we were instead of self-isolating. But it is what it is. See what you can extract from each of these videos. We'll grapple with the effects of forest management decision-making. So days 3, 4, and 5, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this coming week, or this week that we're in right now, are with Dr. Akamani, and he's going to take us through some forest policy, some planning, some conflict management issues. There are huge and deep and powerful divides separating not just the public, but different segments of the public or different publics into groups, and sometimes opposing groups. And as foresters, sometimes we can get caught in the middle of that with different people and their designs on how our shared land should be used. And that's a non-trivial thing. These are some pretty wicked problems that we're going to be wrestling with this semester. So we don't want to shy away from that, but we definitely want to understand that there are lots of different multiple, simultaneous, competing, sometimes overlapping perspectives, and how that all kind of works, and how we deal with that professionally, safely, effectively, but also ethically. Okay, we want to explore threats to the quality of human visitor experiences. Things like aesthetics, challenge, excitement, landscape, existential value, but also things like the straightforward physical resources, like what about the soil at such and such national forest, like the Coronado or the Roosevelt or the Tonto, something like that. Water, wildlife, vegetation, air resources like air sheds, night skies, soundscapes, vistas, landscape views. If you've taken any of my classes like 220, we start to kind of introduce these topics. We're going to go through a gazillion case studies and examples and just kind of explain this stuff so that you have a chance to really see how all of these are present in some form everywhere you could possibly work as a forester, everywhere you could possibly go and enjoy as a human being, and how these just very complex interactions interplay with each other and with us. Okay, we're going to explore in detail the practical outcomes of effective management frameworks and their principles and practices to protect visitor experiences, to protect cultural resources like archaeological sites, and of course that huge stack of natural resources from bedrock and topography on up through the sky and our Milky Way galaxy out beyond. All right. We want to introduce a variety of contemporary park and wildlife management issues and settings. So those will be a bunch of those different parks and forests. We also want to acquire and use a variety of backcountry, survival, navigation orienteering, resource inventory and monitoring, surveying, leave no trace, and so on and so forth, search and rescue, all kinds of stuff. Working with your TA this intersession semester, and we'll get a couple of our exercises, we'll get you up and out of the chair, and so forth. So this class is going to have a lot of videos, both for orientation and instruction, but also potentially sometimes for recording your work on an activity and so forth, and you upload that to YouTube and so forth. It's pretty important to me that you have access to Wi-Fi in some form or fashion, because I don't want to run up your cell phone bill with a bazillion videos from all over the world for this class, coming and going to and from your cell phone or your tablet or whatever. So make sure that you are able to record. You should, hopefully, if we're doing this right, you should never have to stream video up or down on your data connection. You should be able to record something and then get to Wi-Fi back in your house or near your public library if you're just like chilling in the parking lot, charging up your phone in your car. Upload stuff using a Wi-Fi connection, okay? Download stuff using a Wi-Fi connection, store it on your phone as you can. Typically, we'll try to provide copies of a video on YouTube, but then also as a file that you can like download and save and not have to stream out in the field, okay? Where there's a case of it just being a YouTube video and there's not an offline video file that you can save onto your phone, first of all, I will try to minimize the number of those for this very reason. But in those cases, watch the video before you head out into the field. Take any notes that you need to. Write down any list of instructions that you need for yourself, and then go out into the field after that. Again, so you're just preserving your data allowance. We're going to try to be kind to your wallet and your battery and sort of everybody's sanity by concentrating on Wi-Fi. All right, so the short version is get to the Wi-Fi, stay in the Wi-Fi, and so forth. All right, we don't have a textbook for this class because why would we lug a bunch of textbooks around for a field course? So all of that stuff's going to be digital, of course, and all of the files will be here on D2L I'll typically try to link each day's stuff on the announcements page, the front page of the course each day, so you don't have to go rooting around to find it. We have hundreds and hundreds of course files that we've been working real hard to organize and make available for you. And I understand that it's a lot to kind of wade through and sift and sort. So I've been spending weeks doing exactly that, and we'll make sure that you have access to those easily enough. The grading system in this class is honestly rarely a problem. Either you are, you're a hardworking junior or senior and you're keeping up, and we're referring back to a bunch of the classes that you've already taken in this class. There won't always be a whole bunch of new information, but this is our chance to really practice it. This is almost like a big lab section for a whole bunch of classes rammed into one. So the grading system, because of that, because it's not like a whole bunch of textbook-based like regurgitation quizzes, not super hard. But the main thing is you have to keep up. You can't fall behind in summer camp. It's a little bit like Tree ID. So there's a gazillion things to... Tree ID for some people is a pretty hard class. It's just a lot of stuff to memorize and conquer. But Forester Summer Camp is like Tree ID in the sense that if you keep up, you're probably going to be fine. But 90 up to 100% is an A. 80 to 89% is a B. If you are experiencing some struggles in this class, contact me confidentially. Send me a text message. You've got my personal cell phone number. Send me an email. Send me a video response that is just kind of detailing, hey, Park, I'm kind of falling behind here, or I'm not getting this one section of it. I was really struggling with this online format maybe. Whatever the issue is, that's okay. Let me know as soon as you can. All right, I will work with you and we'll figure it out and we'll get you through. But I gotta know first, if you are sending me a panic text message like June 15th, like after the course is over, like, Park, I'm behind and I'm still trying to figure out this stuff. It's like, well, the course is actually already over. It's a lot harder to help you at that point. So short version is send me a message. Let me know like the instant you're having a problem, because somebody else probably is as well. And what I will do is I'll respect your confidentiality. I'm not going to name you or call you out in front of everybody else. I'll say, hey, I got this question from this student. Because this one person asked it, probably means that 5 or 6 other people at least are wondering the exact same thing. So let's just kind of talk about that for a sec, wrestle with it, and here's the answer. We'll get everybody kind of back on track with that, and let's continue on, okay? So send me a message if you have a question, if you're falling behind, if you have a concern, if you're struggling with this online format. I get it. I promise you, I 100% get it. So I'm not going to nail you to the wall for that. All right, so letter grades are on the 10% scale. This class is completely about participation, so show up. Where we have class discussions, post something in the discussion, even if it's just yeah, I agree with that, kind of a brief comment. You don't necessarily have to type out pages and pages of stuff to impress me with how much you are saying the same thing as somebody who just wrote exactly what you think. How's that going to go? But participation is huge, and we need you to be present in the participation exercises, like the discussions online, so that we can have a sense of where everybody's at, how everybody's doing. From the professor's perspective, an online class is very difficult to kind of read the room, is the term. Where in class, we're constantly looking at eye contact and body posture and things like, are people sighing in frustration? Okay, do we need to spend a little bit more time on this topic? Is it just, a little bit confusing how I've explained it and so forth? That's pretty easy in a classroom, and especially in a field setting, because it's a smaller group of people. We have about 15 people taking summer camp this year, rec camp, and it's almost impossible in an online class unless you give us any of those signals any way that you can through discussion or, again, those text messages, emails, whatever. But where it's not with the rest of the class mentioned to me about something, I will probably take that into the discussion, again, confidentially. I'm not going to expose you or whatever, and try to address that with the whole class so that I'm not answering the same sort of confidential question 5 times in a row for 5 different people. That's just not a good use of everybody's time. Okay, so participate. This is a class. Schoonover, Williard, Akamani, they're all good dudes, right? We're gonna have a good time in this class, and we'll learn a thing or 10. All right, so you're responsible for course materials covered during missed lectures. If you got to work during this class, that's okay. We're trying that for the first time this year, 2020. So normally we do not have people working during this class, but we understand that this is a globally significant moment in human history with coronavirus and stuff like that. So if you have a super difficult just day at work, and you just don't have the steam to get online and participate in that thing that day, that's okay. But you need to circle back pretty quickly afterwards, after you get a good night's sleep, and maybe before work even, as you're gulping down your coffee to get going, just try and get online, participate, jump in, keep up. Okay? Thank you. All right, we're not going to do quizzes in this class. We just don't have time for that, so that's mostly just copy pasted from other classes and so forth. We used to do a final exam in summer camp, but I did away with that requirement. Instead, your quizzes and your final exam all come in the form of that journal. So keep that field notebook, make it big. All right, write everything down, your notes, your observations, what surprised you, what made you mad, what you disagreed with in this class. Write that down in your field notebook. It can be a digital Word document. It can be a Google Doc that you just link us to. It can be a physical document that you take one picture per page of and email me like 50 pictures. If you do that, make sure you have good handwriting, please. Yeah. If your handwriting is as bad as mine, type it out. Okay. Ethics do matter in this class. We never have a problem with ethics in summer camp because it's a safety issue, right? So if you are doing something skeezy or sketchy, that puts your classmates in danger. So part of our class is about ethics, about things like leave no trace, but also just the professional ethics of being a forester and getting paid to do that, and being responsible and effective in what you do, but also importantly, why you are doing or not doing something as a forester, okay? So that matters in this class, and if you find yourself tempted because you're feeling like you're falling behind to try and like copy a section out of Wikipedia, don't. Just don't do it. I very rarely have to drop the hammer on somebody for something like plagiarism. It's such a ridiculous thing to have to do, but we have to do it because you're representing someone else's work and knowledge and the wisdom sort of behind that knowledge as your own when you copy paste somebody else's stuff. So that's super bad, and we got to come down on that. So that's part of what it means to be an ethical and responsible forester. So make those skills your own, your observations your own, state them in your own words, and that will do. You'll get through, okay? We're not going to have any large-scale emergencies on campus because nobody's on campus, and that's great. So don't worry too much about that section of the syllabus. All right, so the final and longest part of the syllabus is the curriculum list. And as it says at the top of that list, this is an incomplete or working document. So your professors are behind the scenes, still scrambling to upload videos and organize content and set up activities and so forth. And we've got a bunch already. I'm pretty excited about it. Like, we have, stuff from Hawaii and Alaska, and we'll have stuff from Washington, D.C. and Virginia and Maine and the White Mountains, a bunch of the places we were going to go for Rec Camp this year. But it just takes time to collate that stuff and upload it to YouTube and transcode it and link it and all that stuff. So we're still doing that. So I'll send you the most up-to-date version that I have today on day 1 of summer camp on May 11th on Monday. But it'll expand from there, okay? So I will try to keep that document up to date, and I will also see how I can link that, the live version of it that's up to date, for you as well. So I'll put that link in the course website as soon as it's ready. Okay? All right, so you can read through that and kind of get a sense of what we are doing, and that is pretty much the syllabus. So here's the brief assignment at the end of the syllabus video, 30 minutes in, nice work. The idea here is if you have any questions or clarifications to ask about the syllabus, especially since this year is super weird for summer camp, this is non-standard in some ways, mainly just being online, right? If you have any questions, head to the discussion forums on the course website, and I'll put a link in the announcement for this video after it's linked, and you'll have a chance to ask those clarifying questions, because again, somebody else in the class probably has the same question. So just give it a couple of minutes, type out your question, and everybody will see it. You'll get an answer, so will they. Okay? That's our syllabus for this class. Welcome. I'm excited you're here. I am sorry that we're not face-to-face and getting ready to head up to Maine and the wildlands of the North Woods, but it is what it is. All right, so we'll have a good time despite that, and if you want to take summer camp this year in your pajamas, okay. Maybe not for the parts where you got to go outside and practice something. Just throwing that out there. Like, put on big boy or big girl clothes for that. Yeah. Okay. Ask any questions on the syllabus in the discussion forum, in the appropriate forum, of course. We'll see you there, and good luck with your day one information and exercise on streams and reservoirs and stream gauging with Drs. Williard and Schoonover. See you later.